Welcome back, folks, to the Membership Machine Show. This is episode 50. Yes, the big 50. Unfortunately, my normal co-host Karmen can't join us this week. She had a little bit of an emergency turn up at the beginning of the day. But we've got a special guest. He's co-hosts some of these shows with me. He's an expert on membership. He runs a couple of membership websites himself. And in this episode, we're going to be talking about pricing models, basically how you set up membership websites. There's different structures about the offering, i.e. the membership. So I got Kurt with me, Kurt Van Hayen with me. So Kurt, would you like to quickly introduce yourself to the new listeners and viewers?
Absolutely, Jonathan. My name is Kurt Van Ahnen. I own Mañana No Mas. It's an agency that specializes in membership and learning websites. And I also work directly with WP-Tonic and Lifter LMS. So I look forward to connecting with folks.
That's great. Like I say, we're going to be talking about the different forms you can do in pricing structures, drip feeds, all-in-one membership, online course, online community, fixed termers, product models. We're going to be going into a bit of a dive on pricing models and how you sell your course. So it should be a great, interesting show. But before we go into the meat and potatoes, I've got a couple of major messages from our sponsors. We will be back in a few moments, folks.
This podcast episode is brought to you by Lifter LMS, the leading learning management system solution for WordPress. If you or your client are creating any kind of online course, training-based membership website, or any type of e-learning project, Lifter LMS is the most secure, stable, well-supported solution on the market. Go to lifterlms.com and save 20% at checkout with coupon code podcast20. That's podcast20. Enjoy the rest of your show.
Back, folks. I want to point out we've got some great special offers from the major sponsors. Plus, we've got a curated list of the best WordPress plugins that can help you build a great membership website on WordPress. I think, and I think Kirk agrees, that you should consider building your membership website on WordPress. To get all these goodies, all you have to do is go over to wp-tonic.com/deals. wp-tonic.com/deals, and you find all the goodies there. So before we go in our list, Kurt, what are some of the things that you think people got to know about this subject, about these? It's not precisely, I didn't know how to really name it. They are kind of pricing models, but they're more fundamental. It's the way that you distribute it, or it's the basic kind of quasi business model that you're going to run your course on. Yeah. How would you explain it?
Well, to start off with, Jonathan, I'm thrilled that you brought me in for this topic because, as an agency owner, and you deal with this too, customers, they get attracted by, the shiny object syndrome, the new tool, the new whatever, but they buy the tool, but they really haven't put the thought into, how am I going to use this tool? What's my structure? And so how many times do you get halfway through a build with somebody and they go, well, wait a minute, what does the access plan do? Or how do I get someone to do this, this, and this? And you're like, this tool doesn't even do what you want. Like this is new. And so part of the pre-discovery, journey that you have to take with a client is figuring out their methodology, their modality for business. But, if this show is targeted towards people that want to do it themselves, a DIY setup, you got to know what to your point, your business plan is and how you want to sell things, and then find tools that fit that modality rather than trying to change your plan to fit the new tool.
I thought that was fantastic. That really kind of put a focused. I didn't do a fantastic job. You've done a much better one. Because it's difficult to explain it because it's the way, it's the fundamental. If you're not used to this, folks, you might be an expert in your particular field, but you never run a business yourself. This might be a little bit foreign, this language, but it's fundamentally called your business model. And basically your business model, because you're selling e-learning, training, your expertise through a membership website, there's different ways that you can sell that experience to your target audience. I think that's the fundamentals of this. Would you agree before I go on, Kurt?
Yeah. And to be more clear, when we talk about membership models, it doesn't necessarily have to be based on learning or training. It can just be an association of some kind, like a union association. Everyone works together or something like that. I mean, there's all different reasons to have a closed community of people. But again, that's part of your business decision to figure out what is your community and what's the purpose.
Right. So let's go in to the list. So I've got on my list drip feed. So if you were trying to explain this to somebody seeking your advice connected to a membership website, how would you explain the concept of drip feed?
To me, when I hear of drip feed, anytime that drip is mentioned, it means to me that we're spacing out content for some reason. And there's different ways to drip the content. But that's what drip means. Drip means to space out the content. So if you wrote a book and it was 20 chapters, and then you had a membership where you're going to explore a chapter a week, you wouldn't put all 20 chapters up and make it available right away. You would set the access so that people could see a new chapter every week.
Yeah, I know some people that actually, when somebody signs up for a drip membership, they actually don't even have a membership website. It's just a series of email. I've seen influencers, people with a lot of credibility do that. There's different ways of supplying that drip content, but basically, to me, you're not giving access to the whole course, the whole product, the whole thing straight away. You're breaking it down in chunks, and then you're sending out weekly, monthly, whatever the structure is. So that's where the title comes, drip feed.
Yeah. Now, if we were actually going to have a conversation about pros and cons of each of these models, I think the pro of the drip feed is that you keep from overwhelming your audience with too much information at once, or devaluing your product by just vomiting everything up at once, because it devalues it if you just give it to them right away. But the con is you kind of have to babysit this model a little bit. Like I think about Russell Brunson training people how to use ClickFunnels. He had a whole series of Google Docs and things that he emailed and tracked, and it takes effort. So there's some work on the back end to really manage a drip feed like that.
Yeah, I think I think a lot of people focus on point two. You're not giving them the whole bundle straight away because they're worried that people will cancel. So your churn rate. But I actually think the more credible, I'm not totally dismissing worry too, but I think it's the number one that you pointed out is this. One of the great benefits of drip feed is because I've had it recently with a course that I've signed up. I signed up 2 weeks ago, and it's a very extensive course. When I logged in, unfortunately not done on WordPress, folks. But when I logged in, I thought it's HIT. There's about 18 chapters and it goes into quite a lot of depth. I was pre-warned. That's why I bought into the course, that it was from an experienced individual and it wasn't aimed at the beginner level. But I still had that feeling when I opened it and thought, oh, God.
So what have I done?
Yes. And that is one of the strengths of the drip feed model, because you do avoid that. But Kurt is, I've never done one like that. I've done the setup for clients, but it is a lot more because you've got to send it out. You can do automation that does it, but there's more holding the hand of people a bit, I think. But there we go. The all-in membership, I suppose. What would you say about that? All-in.
The all-in membership, to me, I like it because it really takes less maintenance and babysitting, right? Like, here's all my content. You bought a membership, have at it. So you give people a little more autonomy, which, for customers and clients and community that like freedom, that's wonderful. But you got to remember, like, course completion, when we talk about courses, course completion rates are some of the biggest obstacles. And these all-in memberships, they can overwhelm people. They take bits and pieces of things, and they never really get the value out of enacting the whole product, if that makes sense.
Totally.
So you don't want to set yourself up for failure. You don't want a high percentage of people not getting value from your course or product. So you got to be careful with this all-in membership. If you do this, I think you need to add some automation to help guide people through some of the content to help encourage people to finish stuff.
Yeah, because I've been involved, and I'm sure you have, and it's done. The people, it's done for the right intention, but it has consequences that they haven't worked out. Is that they have these, especially when it's their first course, they hired you to consult them, help them build it, whatever. And it's their first go at this, and they've worked out. I've had people present visual mind maps, and they've had pathways left, right, and centre all over different types of membership level. And it's taken me 2 hours just to look at the mind map to work out all these different levels. And I had one client, and it was it's still in my memory, and they wanted a very elaborate affiliate marketing inbuilt with a membership setup. So when the people were selling membership, they would get certain affiliates, but they were also independent sellers. They could sell their own seats. Can you see how complicated this got?
Yeah.
Really good. And I hired a particular well-known developer to help me, and he even said to me that this is kind of on the verge of madness. This, dumb, so people can get a bit carried away. Am I going off course here, or is this? But
no, because there's a little bit of waffling, but the message is so important. The core message is, you have to have a plan, and you have to enact the plan, and you have to run that plan by a focus group of some type that lets you know if you're crazy or not. If you put too many options in, you overwhelm people. They never make a decision.
Yeah, just try and my advice on this is keep it as simple as possible when it comes to the different levels for your first course, folks, and also get some early successes for the students, and don't worry don't concern yourself with what I call the War and Peace version of a membership course. People think they do need to show some value, so they tend, because it's their first go at this, they tend to throw everything in, and I think you need that input from your first students, and then you can build it out. Onto the next one, the outline course. What do you think of this?
Well, when we consider having an online course, it's we've kind of talked about it already, right? But
Yes,
it's like,
yeah.
but you're a subject matter expert, you're sharing knowledge with somebody. And so you're building that membership based off of a shared knowledge of a specific subject. And so I think that that is, there's some cases like when I look at the all-in membership we talked about. So in my own mind, I'm like, that's a library. That's a library of courses. That's multiple courses. That's, I'm going to have a lot of content for a single online course. If it's a one course website, I know a lot of developers that prefer this model where they just focus on one niche, one thing, and they get really, really good at it. This is a great way to sell product and really make yourself an expert in a specific field.
Yeah, there's a bit of overlap here. I wrote out the outline for this show, folks. So I'll take the So it's kind of the opposite of the drip feed. And maybe I should have put the all-in-one membership. But it's like, I think you made a good summary there that it's focused. You've got all the content there. It's like what I just said about the course I've just recently signed up. It's all there. And you think, oh God, but you can lay it out, structure it. It's going to be easier to some extent to run, but I'm not sure about that because they've got their good features and their bad. There is no perfect. It's just a lot of grey here, isn't there?
Yeah, and so I'd actually like to ask you, Jonathan. I mean, as a person that's in the market, in the field, and where you work with stuff, do you think marketing a single course website that's very focused has more impact, or do you think having the ability to have a library of courses for a bigger community is a better way to go? How do you feel about that?
I'm not trying to avoid it, but it really depends on the case study, doesn't it?
It does.
Because some are really micro focused, and that has strengths. I've been amazed at the success that people. I had one guy. He was based in Sweden, and it was in a particular medical sector, folks, and he was offering certification in I hadn't even heard of the particular type of medical field. I'm not going to go into enormous detail because of confidential. Can't talk today, confidential reasons, but it was a real niche, and he'd been doing it. He was looking for a total redesign and to look at moving. He did use Lifter LMS actually. He was on a SaaS platform, and he wanted more customization, blah blah blah, and it was a total build out. But he already had a lot of the call structure there. He was also going to take an opportunity to restructure his call structure as well. You get that with a lot of people, because it is a big undertaking if you're built on a SaaS and you're limited by design or functionality. When people are going to move to the more freedom of WordPress, they normally take the opportunity to not only have a redesign but also restructure their call structure as well. Normally, on to the next one. Online community. What you got to say about this one?
I'm super cautious with this one, Jonathan. I am. I don't mean to poo-poo some of the ideas, but online community to me comes with it comes with a big weight. For me, you have to have a community somewhere to import into it. If you try and start one from scratch and you don't have some pre-existing tribe somewhere to attract people from, even if it's just a really good email list, but like you have to have either a great email list or a successful Facebook page or a big, Twitter X following, something to bring into it. If you launch an online community and nobody shows up, when the first paying customer shows up, they don't see any activity and they think the site's a bust. If you get 5 people, they think it's a bust. You need 50 or 100 people in this thing to make it have energy and to make it find success. So That said, I'm a big fan of private online communities and the decentralization of social, because I don't like, the censorship of Facebook and Twitter and all these things we read about. I like the freedom of communication with my tribe, but you have to have something to attract that tribe too, and that is community. So you have to have community in order to build community.
Yeah, I think you did fantastic there. This is my stance on it, folks. I think people are attracted to the concept of membership and community. In pure business terms, the reason why it's attractive because it makes the membership experience more sticky. One of them, Kurt touched on it earlier on in this show. One of the problems is churn, i.e. people buying a membership and they don't really complete it, and then they don't renew their subscription. Every business model, every type of business has its own problems, and one of the major problems with the membership model that has a lot of very attractive elements to it is the problem of churn, and always being on the hamster wheel in having to produce more new content all the time to keep the engagement of your student base, to stop them from deciding not to renew or saying they want to close their subscription. And it can be a bit of a hamster wheel. One of the ways to get over that is community. So it definitely has business, and a lot of people are attracted to it. Now, this is my take on it. I think if you're going to start, just like what Kurt said, if you're going to move, if you start in afresh and having a community element, I think you're trying to attempt something too early, basically, and it's actually going to have a negative effect on you being able to get the wheel moving. For the reasons that Kurt outlined, you'd be better off trying to build a community initially on Facebook. Even I run a Facebook group myself, a small one that I'm trying to build. I'm not a lover of Facebook. I'll use the paid side and I will use it hopefully to my benefit, but there's definitely elements of Facebook that I don't find attractive at all. But I think, there's other platforms that you can utilize, Pinterest, I forgot the name of it. A lot of YouTube, people building up audience through YouTube use another platform to have community engagement.
TikTok. Yeah, TikTok has a lot of users. Instagram, YouTube, Pinterest, all those things.
Yeah. Pantheon, I think that's it.
Oh.
Pantheon. I think we discussed it last week, actually. My mind's going to bolt. But I think you definitely would be better off trying to build your group on Facebook or similar, or Slack. There's like 3 or 4 of these solutions out there. And then the other good thing about, which I really like about Lifter LMS, is they've got their own add-on product, which I see as a kind of the next stepping stone. If you've got a Facebook, because the end solution is Buddy Boss, folks, if you're in the WordPress, or if you're looking at SaaS, it's Mighty Networks or it's Circles, folks. They all do roughly the same thing. We love Buddy Boss because we love the freedom, of ownership it gives you. But it's a big commitment. You can get enormous benefit if you're at the right stage, but a lot of people jump to it too early, in my opinion, because there's a lot of work, there's a lot more to do, and they haven't even built out their first course. So you're going to hear this a lot through this show, folks. Try and keep it simple. If it's your first go at this, folks, keep it simple, because there's a lot of things to do around building a membership website, you're totally capable of doing it, and it's still a great model that doesn't cost an enormous amount of money. You're going to have to exchange some of your time to get the wheel moving, but I think with community, it does have its attractions because it makes it more sticky. But I think you've got to look at it if you're at the right stage of your membership journey. What do you think of what I just said, Kurt?
Yeah, it kind of echoes the theme of it, right? And it's you can start on some other platform. You can start on a more public social platform, whatever channel you choose. But when you build your online community, you want to be able to migrate them into your internal community and then do everything you can to put energy into it. Because if it loses energy, that negative reflection on you affects your brand. And, that can be it's a negative. You don't want that to happen.
Yeah. And I think you got to utilize all these social networks, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, X, whatever it's called, Facebook. They're all great, but you don't, and a lot of them have quasi membership models. I wouldn't touch them with a barge pole myself.
Mm-mm.
I think I would utilize any of these to try and build an audience and build exposure, and then utilize it first to get them on a mailing list. You've got to do that. And secondly, at the right stage, get them over to your own website. Because these platforms change, they morph into something else. They don't particularly like you, not because they just dislike you as an individual, but their business models change. You're not the right fit for them anymore. Who knows?
Well,
it could be 1,000 things, couldn't it, Kurt?
You touched on one that really is quite evident that people could look at now and go, oh, now I see what you mean. Because there's Patreon and, there was Locals and OnlyFans. When OnlyFans started, it was not the vendor source that it is today. It was meant for, artists and musicians. Yeah. And, so imagine you put hundreds or thousands of dollars into building yourself as a credible musician on that platform, and now you're surrounded by the content that it normally hosts, and you don't have that control. Whereas if you put it in your own website, with the Buddy Boss example, you would have been in complete control of your marketing and your brand.
I think that was very, very tactful as well, Kurt.
Thank you, sir.
I'm very impressed. He's much more tactful than me. I can be tactful when I want to be, can't I, Kurt? But sometimes I don't, do I? He's very tactful, and that was a beautiful example. That really, you don't have to, it doesn't have to be something that you're doing, i.e. you've got a particular political or social opinion. It doesn't have to be that. It could be that it's just what Kurt's just with his beautiful example. It can be just that the platform that you've spent an enormous amount of time building an audience. There was another platform, Kurt, I can't remember its name, not doing well. It came out about 3 or 4 years ago, just before it was about 18 months before COVID. And it was I can't remember, it was a kind of voice podcast video platform where you could have group chat on video using Volp. And it was getting popular. And I knew somebody that was spending a lot of time, and I was doing some of these shows. I was putting some WP-Tonic on it, and it was a really interesting platform. But they had VC backing, but they were burning through it like yesterday. And I think they burnt through because it was utilizing a ton of bandwidth.
Yeah.
And they were burning it, and they didn't really have a business model to really cover the costs. So after about a year, they gave 2 weeks notice and they closed the whole platform down.
Zip. Yep.
It's over, folks. It was a good ride.
Yeah.
I only spent a bit of time. I knew somebody had spent a lot more time on it. But imagine if you built your whole business on it.
And then
And
it's
then,
gone.
oh, goodbye, folks. It was a good show. We had a good time, but it just didn't work out.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's a tough one to swallow, but maybe we should move on to the fixed termer.
I think we should go for our middle break, actually.
Oh, let's take a middle break.
We're going to go for our middle break, folks. We'll be back in a few moments, folks. We're coming back, folks. I think it's been a great first half show. I just want to point out that if you're looking to build your membership or community website on WordPress, why don't you look at WP-Tonic? WP-Tonic is a fantastic hosting provider. We specialize in optimizing our hosting for membership and for community websites using BuddyBoss. We'll also provide a really extensive suite of the best Premier plugins. That's all part of the deal, plus email functionality for marketing email and a lot more. It's really a great service at a great price. So if that's interesting, and hopefully it will be, go over to WP-Tonic, have a look at what we've got to offer, and you can book a free chat with myself. We'd love you to become a part of the tribe. On the next part we go. The fixed termer, and I've put it in cohorts because I know you just recently done a video with Chris of Lifter LMS about this new functionality that's part of the Lifter LMS. And Lifter and LearnDash are the two learning management systems that we supply and recommend. So what's this term about fixed term? And I'll put in brackets cohorts. Do you think cohort metaphor is right to link it with fixed termer? I think it is in a way, isn't it?
It is. When you first think about a fixed term, right? So the way that this is written, it says, this kind of membership has a fixed membership period. Could be anything from 7 days to 12 months. Well, boom, nailed that, right? So immediately as a course creator, you're faced with the turn, right? That the churning idea of every time I finish this, I got to get another group of students. That's not necessarily the case, right? So I don't want people to get kind of locked into thinking that they're stuck on some hamster wheel as you described, but a fixed term or a cohort is awesome for businesses that have new product and they have to get everyone in their company trained on the new product in a certain time, or for schools that have semesters or trimesters or things like that. You have a group of students going through stuff at the same time. And so when you think about it in those terms, having a cohort management for your site, or what you call a fixed term, giving someone a certain amount of time to go through something, making good on your commitment and your membership, it's a really great way to go. Now, Lifter's new cohort is awesome because it kind of automates the process and it duplicates the existing course into a new course without taking the students out of the old course. So that's a really cool thing. And it kind of automates that, and it puts you in control of whether the course shows up in the course catalog or not, and all that kind of stuff. So I don't want to overwhelm this audience if they don't have, exposure to the core product first. But the cohort tool is really cool because it kind of automates things in Lifter. But if you didn't have the cohort tool and you wanted to have a fixed term situation, I go right back to like Facebook. Remember the Facebook challenges that were so popular before COVID and through COVID? Here's a 5-day challenge to lose 10 pounds. Here's 15-day challenge to, learn how to run your calendar. Here's a 15-day challenge to learn how to read scripture. There was all these challenges on Facebook. If you were to take that concept and put that into the course and lesson format inside your own WordPress example, you wouldn't be dependent on Facebook for running your stuff, or subject to Facebook like turning off your account in the middle of running one of those challenges. You'd be able to import those people into your own site, and then you'd be able to create a marketing list off of their participation and sell them additional goods and services, post event, which I think is the big marketing plan.
Yeah, I think the other thing is it gets you, like you did touch, it gets you off the hamster wheel. I've noticed more established individuals that got already built a good following use this model, because there's a guy that I followed his podcast, The Art of Online Business, Rick Murray. I followed him for years, and he's a specialist in paid Facebook and paid Facebook training for those that got a six-figure business, or people that are looking to run a Facebook paid agency. He trains, but his courses, he runs them on the cohort model, and that gets him off the hamster wheel. So they're not cheap, these courses, but I haven't been on one, but Rick gives me the impression that he really knows what he's talking about. I've tried to get him on my show, but he said no, basically. So, but I might be having one of his close colleagues actually come on this show. They're thinking about it. Rick, I asked him to come on my other podcast, folks, the WP-Tonic show, folks. But it does get you, and it gives you the time to update your course. You know, things do change in every subject, you know, especially in a subject that Rick's in, because Facebook is changing all the time. You know, they're changing. So he needs time to look at his course material. And then he has a hybrid model where if you go to another level of price, you go down to Southern California where he lives, and you have a week with Rick, but that costs quite a lot of money. Or you can have one-to-one sessions, but that costs even more. So he gives you a lot of choices. But his basic, which is, I would imagine he describes that as the tip of his funnel, because he's offering all these other levels as well. He also, I think I might be wrong there, but there's a lot of people actually, before you can have access to the upper levels, you've got to go through the basic level, which you think, oh, doesn't that restrict? But it actually pre-qualifies people that it's going to be that you've built a relationship for the course, so you can sell them higher price elements. And it's going to be because you built, and hopefully they've been happy with the course, so it's going to be easier. So
yeah, that's actually the model I use with my power sports example.
Right.
So people have to take the online courses, and they have to attend, virtual consulting sessions before I agree to do an in-person visit, because it doesn't make sense to pay me all that money to come visit in person if you haven't done the base content.
No, and you think, oh, it doesn't really matter. It does matter if you're serious in the long, medium term, because because it will get around that. Now, Kurt's a great guy, and you are, Kurt. He's been very generous in helping me, folks. But he'll get around, don't matter how nice you are, they expect to get a result. And they won't mention they never did any of the things you recommended or went through. It's just that you went down there and it cost them an arm and a leg, and they didn't get any results. They won't tell the people the reason they didn't get any results is they never did the training.
Never did the work. Yeah. And so in my little, training niche of the world, I make people take the courseware and go through the consulting, and I get them to a certain level of performance before I visit in person. Because if I go early, I never get them to the level that they have the potential for.
On to the next thing. Product model. What do you reckon this is?
Well, I look at it almost like, instead of it being necessarily a membership example, I look at it kind of like an easy digital download. I almost interpreted this as like, I wrote a book and here's the ebook and you can download it at this link, put in your email and make a purchase and become a member of the site for that. But when I look at that product modeled in that way, again, I go back to I'm building a list. I'm using it for community building of my own in that email list. And then is it used for future marketing endeavors? That's kind of the way I thought of that.
Yeah, I kind of see it also that if you got people's, normally there's a lot of cross fertilization, i.e., you're selling them a course, but you're also selling them kind of digital product. Depends on the structure of your course. If it's all in one membership, this won't be part of that because it's all in one. You got others where it's called a trigger wire. It's a mini course. Could either be free, but a lot of people use it. It's a course at a very reasonable price, and then people enter. It's a glorified lead magnet in some ways, but it's course structure a very like at $49.99 or $9.99, whatever.
Yeah.
You get that person's email, so you can market to them in future, and then you can sell them other digital products in the shopping cart, upsells, or you could ship them physical stuff. There's a lot, I know quite a few people that were on Etsy, the crafts, and they're terrible, folks. They're a classic example. They've shafted their user base a few times, but people still use it because it's a marketplace. But if I was building a clientele on Etsy, I would be looking to get them onto my own website all the time and getting them on a mailing list, maybe offering them a small course about the craft thing you're making. But I would always be trying to get them off that platform onto my website, onto my own email list, because they're notorious. They've changed their terms and conditions about this. I think it was last year or the beginning of this year, and they've done it before, and they really shafted these people really rely on that platform, and they were really taken to the cleaners to some degree. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I think, and we go back to this all the time, Jonathan. We can look at all these SaaS platforms and look at these other marketplaces that we can add our name or our product to, or try to get exposure on. But at the end of the day, you want to own your name, you want to own your branding, you want to own your audience, and you want to be in control. And you get that, through building that in your own platform through WordPress.
Yeah, and I've got to say, folks, at the Membership Machine Show, we cover all things. We cover SaaS, WordPress. I'm upfront that it's WordPress that I believe in. But what the SaaS models, the hosted SaaS providers are very good. They're very good at their propaganda. It's really, really easy, blah, blah, blah. And WordPress is very, very bad at marketing. And there are some additional hoops. If you do host at WP-Tonic, we do our best to make it. We do care, and we do work with our clients to get them up and running and have success. But what the SaaS models, and then you can't blame them, what they don't is you're building your business, your livelihood on somebody else's property. And if they want to put the prices up, or whatever it is, and look at what happened at Etsy, do a Google search, it will come out how their people that have been using that platform for over 10 years were just shafted to some extent. So keep that in mind, folks. Service model. What do you reckon about this one?
Well, I love the service model, Jonathan. I'm glad you put it in this list, because I don't think there's a lot of people that recognize the power of it. For example, a lot of what we do is a service model. We have clients that we share that, that reach out to us on a monthly basis that take our services, our time for training or design work or information or maintenance or upkeep. And that's an example of that service model. So I think of like a John Maxwell certified person like me, right? There's 30,000 people that are John Maxwell certified in this country, and almost all of them need a website to offer consulting and training or speaking, right? And that's stuff that people could sign up for, have a membership for. Companies could subscribe to your services for a retainer of so many hours of consulting per month. And it just creates multiple revenue streams. It allows you to build in those verticals.
Yeah, it's probably in the membership model, business model, probably the service side is probably going to be a lot more profitable. And there's many creative ways of doing it, having a mastermind group, and then have individual coaching online. Yeah. And then what I pointed out with Rick, he has his physical summits, his physical meetups as part of the membership. And at each stage where it normally works is that the individual that has built up a community to get more individual one-to-one access with that individual, you have to pay more money, or it's normally virtual and then group, virtual, then physical group, then but in between you can have one-to-one virtual coaching, and then you can literally have physical coaching. But normally, because you've got dealing with people who are all over the country, all over the world, the top tier is one-to-one virtual, or you can have the group physical. They're the top tier. What do you reckon?
My brain was just going crazy as you were talking, Jonathan. And I was thinking,
I have that effect on a lot of people, Kurt.
If you take the service concept and you get out of the box and you think about opportunity for like people listening to this, startups that have never been in business before, think about it. You could be a teenager, pick up dog poop at people's houses in your neighborhood, put that on a website as a service, let people subscribe to it. People swipe their credit card. You go to their address and pick up dog poop. It's that simple. You never even have to see the people. Just do the job and collect the money.
That's going to be my next career.
It could be. Imagine that. You wouldn't even have to see the people. You could be the pool boy. The pool boy could have a membership. Subscribe through the website, and they come out, every 2 weeks and clean the pool. It's there's so many opportunities and different ways to reframe the way we think about doing business and ways to actually conduct business today that maybe we wouldn't have thought of half a decade ago.
Yeah, it's true. I think that was a good conclusion. Actually, I was going to do, but I think that's a good message to end the show. Hopefully you found this useful, folks. If you did, please give us some feedback, leave a review on iTunes for us, or if you're watching this on YouTube, leave a comment, or if you've got any questions, just put it there. I answer them all. Like I say, hopefully I'll be back next week with Karmen. We'll be talking about another subject. So, Kurt, what is the best way for people to find out more about you and your services?
Well, Mañana No Mas is the agency, and almost anything out there that with Mañana No Mas on it comes back to me. I have a Mañana No Mas podcast, but I'm the only Kurt Van Ahnen on LinkedIn. So if you want to reach me directly, that's the best way to reach me.
Right. Thank you, Kurt, for coming on the show this week with short notice. But I think it's been a great show, and I think we've offered some great value for our discussion. Hopefully, I'm pretty sure about that. We'll see you next week, folks. Bye.